Okay, stay on that. This is fascinating.
I can sleep fewer hours than you and feel much better.
You get better sleep.
Many conditions, I mean, we're talking hundreds, are resolved just walking around barefoot.
My time clock will literally recalibrate itself.
The bone remodels again.
That's amazing.
It starts to take a non-union bone fracture, meaning not touching, and grow back.
Okay, let's keep going. We'll go back and forth. I want to, every part of this I want to break down and understand, even for my own edification, because I'm doing this, right? Jason is the creator of something called the Superhuman protocol. And the way I want you all to think about remembering it is earth, wind, and fire. If you just think about those things as we go through the show, earth, wind, and fire, those of you that are old enough, it's one of my favorite bands of all time, so it's easy to recall. But we want to talk a little bit about this protocol that you've got, and it starts with, we're going to do basic things that anybody can afford to do, all the way up to stuff that's pretty damn pricey that not everybody listening to this is going to be able to do. I've been blessed and fortunate enough that I am participating in the full protocol, so to speak, and I'm new to it. So I'm a great, guinea pig for my audience. But let's start out with the earth part of it.
Sure.
What is magnetism in general?
Well, we need to go back a little bit. Maybe we go back 4,000 years.
4,000 years, okay.
When Earth's magnetic field, or what we call the electron, free electron coming from Earth, was about 2.5 Gauss. Now, that's a fancy way of saying we actually had a charge, right? When your cell phone dies, what do? We put it on the induction charger, because there's a battery in there.
Right.
You have trillions of batteries in your body. They're called cells. So 4,000 years ago, we were at about 2.5 Gauss, which is 250 microtesla for the nerds out there. And what happened was we were walking around and we were on our own induction charger and we were charging the cells.
Okay.
And when the cells get charged, they separate instead of clumping. When a cell clumps, or when a cell sticks to each other, it can't get as much oxygen.
Okay.
That's important. And it can't carry that oxygen to the 11 organ systems. All 5 liters of blood need to get to 70,000 plus miles of circulatory system. So we didn't think about, do we need to walk on planet Earth to stay alkaline? Because when you charge the cell, negative 25 millivolts on a cell membrane is a pH of 7.35. And everyone's saying, I need alkaline food, I need alkaline water.
Right.
Actually, if you walk around on the beach right out here for just 30 minutes, and you measure your pH, or you look at your blood under a microscope, you're going to look like a different person. You're going to look like the person you should look like.
Okay, let's keep going. We'll go back and forth. I want to, every part of this I want to break down and understand, even for my own edification, because I'm doing this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so cells clumping together, the consequences of that.
It is lack of oxygen, and think about a freeway. If we're looking down at a freeway from a helicopter, and every car is magnetized to each other. Suddenly we have a traffic jam, right? And the sides of the freeway have pressure on it, high blood pressure, and none of the cells can go into the microvessels, arterioles, venules, capillaries. This is a disaster. And so if we charge all of those cells, they become negatively charged, they separate. And now every cell can flow from point A to point B like the cars on the Autobahn in Germany.
Okay.
So we have delivery system again.
Got it.
All our blood gets to go from head to toe. And all 11 of our organ systems, they need to be fertilized. They need nutrient-rich, oxygenated blood. Or each of those, one of those systems, or many of them, start to show a symptom. And the doc goes, well, we're showing these levels are here and this level is there, so let's put you on a medication.
Right.
We don't look at, well, wait a minute, that the endocrine system's missing some critical nutrients.
Okay.
It's missing fertilizer. It's not getting perfusion. And we throw a drug at it, which will halt the symptom, which makes you think everything's good now. But we never went after the root cause. You go after that drug, you go off that drug, you go back to where you were.
So it's a Band-Aid over a gushing gunshot wound.
They're all Band-Aids.
Okay, so here we go. So first things first is separated cells can receive more oxygen.
Correct.
More oxygen means we're getting those out to the organs that need to receive that oxygen. There's a lot of there are some ways to get those red blood cells getting more magnetized and separated. You're saying one of them is just literally like earthing.
Yeah.
Earthing, why don't you describe that a little bit? Earthing, as I understand it, is basically getting yourself touching the earth on a pretty regular basis, right? And that gives you that magnetic charge, even though it's less of a charge than it was 4,000 years ago.
It's still enough. And there's 20 peer-reviewed scientific studies, peer-reviewed, that prove, without a doubt, that many conditions, I mean, we're talking hundreds, are resolved just walking around barefoot. Go Google it. Grounding, peer-reviewed studies. It's crazy. So somebody who has, maybe they're constantly in sympathetic, right? This is a fight or flight mode. This is causing cortisol. This is causing inflammation. If you go walk around on Mother Earth for about a half an hour, and you could measure your parasympathetic going out of sympathetic, going into parasympathetic, our autonomic nervous system calms down. We actually can reduce inflammation by walking around barefoot. We can improve the blood flow and get all of our systems, organ systems, what they need. So we can even reset circadian rhythms. So let's say you go out of the country and you come back here in California, you're going to reset your circadian rhythms, your sleep cycle back to California. Okay,
stay on that. This is fascinating. You've told me that when you travel, you go different time zones. Best thing you try to do when you get there is you go hit the beach barefooted.
Period.
And you're saying that my time clock will literally recalibrate itself by
for that location.
That is so freaking unbelievable.
Yeah,
is that why, for example, I think everyone's experienced this too. Is that why, and does it matter where you're doing this? Meaning, for me, I'm barefoot around certain, but when I'm barefoot on the beach, is it just in my head, or is there something about I'm actually literally touching the earth because I'm so close to it on the sand, or no difference?
No, so you can actually be on concrete. Because concrete has moisture, and that will conduct. It will conduct. But ultimately, you want to get as close to the dirt, moist dirt, as possible. So if you can go outside and just sit there, and barefoot, and just take your feet and just wiggle your toes in the dirt, you're getting some pretty amazing therapeutic results. And if you don't believe this, and it's hard for people to go, well, how come this isn't everywhere? Actually, it is if you just look for it. There, again, 20 peer-reviewed studies. Go to YouTube. There's a fantastic video called Grounding, and it recites quite a few of the studies. I'll have to give credit where it's due. Clint Ober is the guy that brought this to light. And that's why some of these studies are being done. But after a 20-hour flight to, a destination, we're tired, we're hungry, our acidity has probably gone through the roof because of the garbage that we ate while we were on our trip. And you just get to that location, you walk around barefoot and get 50% or more of the body exposed to sunlight. And we'll get into light and breathe that good, clean oxygen, because when you're in, for example, when I was in Bora Bora, we know the oxygen level there, not the purity, but the quality is very high. In 30 minutes, all my aches and pains gone. And I'm charged and ready for the vacation. So that's my superhuman protocol, just walking on the beach, half naked, breathing good quality oxygen.
So by the way, it's important everybody listen to this. I've learned a lot about this. A lot of you live on second, third, fourth stories in an apartment building. You work on one all day. You're even further separated from this magnetic charge of the earth almost all day long. So something as basic as earthing can help alkalize the body, separate these red blood cells. We're more susceptible to oxygen. This is a really significant, basic, cost-free way that you can begin to upgrade your superhuman protocol for yourself. Now, we can then step somewhere that's a little bit more sophisticated than that, which is what I've started doing. So talk a little bit about what you've been recommending for people in terms of it's pEMF, correct?
Correct.
So talk a little bit about that. What is it? And then how do we get it in our body based on this pad that you've had me laying on it recently?
So pEMF therapy it's been around a while, and there's a form of it on almost all spacecraft. When we leave Earth, we're highly disconnected from our magnetic field. In fact, oxygen and magnetism they're married. If we were to block all magnetic fields, if I were to put myself in a very strong Faraday cage, which would block everything, you could potentially go into heart failure. Because the cells will charge up. They'll charge up positive. They'll connect. They'll stick to each other. No more oxygen transport, no more blood flow. You'll go into defib. Dr. Jane Hunt did this study already.
That's right.
This is crazy stuff. So the origins go back in quite a ways, and it's a first FDA clearance in the late 70s for non-union bone fractures, because bones are piezoelectric. They are literally responding to a magnetic field, and there's something in a bone called osteoblast remodeling. And when you play this music, so to speak, or this magnetic field back to the bone, the bone remodels again.
That's amazing.
It starts to take a non-union bone fracture, meaning not touching, and grow back.
Amazing.
So if you have a non-union bone fracture, your orthopedic surgeon will probably have you wear a special device that is doing pEMF around the clock.
Yep.
So that's evolved into full body mats. Now we can lay on them, and we can lay on them for 8, 16, 24 minutes at a time. And we're basically getting 14 hours worth of grounding in 8 minutes. It has a residual effect of 14 hours. So we do it in the morning and we do it at night, right around sunset. And so we have coverage. We have 28 hours of residual if we do this mat every day. And you don't need to lay on it unless you have blood and lungs. Those are the only.
If you have blood.
Seriously,
Okay, right.
if you don't have those two, you don't need the body mat. Seriously. And in my opinion, everybody at one point is going to be on pEMF, because walking barefoot, for some of us, it's not practical. It's not safe. Some don't like it, and some people just can't because of where they live. So they need that replacement. As Earth's magnetic field declines, and it's gone down 80% in the last 4,000 years. It went from 2.5 Gauss, 250 microtesla of unbelievable charge, to half a Gauss. That's a big drop in such a short period of time. In the span of Earth, that's 4,000 years is nothing. This is dangerous.
So this mat, by the way, you'll be able to go to Vinci Medical. What's the website if they wanted to go see the actual mat?
DaVinciMedicalUSA.com.
By the way, I'm not selling anything, guys, at all. There's nothing in it for me. I'm just suggesting to you that if there's nothing in your budget to do it, I think we've all in our life had sort of the anecdotal evidence of walking on grass and barefooted, or walking on the beach barefooted and just feeling better, just feeling a sense of wellness and well-being. So if that's what you can do to begin to improve your health, and that's a basic recommendation we've made today, game changer for you. If you step up a little bit though and you get one of these mats, I've been using them. I'm so new at it, I can't say to everybody what all the applications have been for me, but there's like 7,000 different little messages that go out to our cells through this mat at one given time. Elaborate on that a little bit. It's fascinating to me.
So the Earth is giving us one magnetic field, and there's a frequency. It's a Schumann pulse, 7.85. And there are other frequencies that cells like to hear. Just like certain music will resonate well to you. You know, you start dancing, right? I mean, certain songs I play after something happens great. And
to trigger.
Boom. Cells have receptors. And if we play back the right frequency to those receptors, we can actually get them back on track. So there's different cell types and cell groups. And if you know the frequencies that can, let's say, open up the calcium channels, which may have been shut from 5G, we can fire that right back up if we've got the right frequencies coming in from the body mat. So we take pEMF a step further. It's not just, it's a magnetic field, it's a charger, we're putting half a Gauss through the body. We're actually giving you different programs that can vitalize you. For example, if you want to do oxygen therapy, we have a program that will boost the oxygen transport before you exercise with oxygen. But let's say at night when the sun sets, we want that mind to be calmed down. We want to relax the autonomic nervous system. Okay, we want to get out of sympathetic. So we have a relax program there that will actually talk to the body and the mind and get us into a state of different brainwave state. Because right now you and I are in beta. Blah, 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 blah. We're almost always in beta. If you're like me, you're in beta even when you're in delta. Okay, you think we're thinking, you think you're not thinking when you're sleeping, but trust me, the dreams prove us otherwise. So if you do a relaxed program at night, we can absolutely get into a smoother, slower brainwave state. We can get out of beta, get into alpha theta, and hopefully have a longer delta brainwave state. And if I can get a better delta session in my sleep, if it's a little bit longer than yours, I can sleep fewer hours than you and feel much better.
And get better sleep. Right.
Yeah, but that guy that's waking up all the time, that's a problem, because he never gets into delta, and that's when we make human growth hormone, which is going to repair and regenerate the body. So you need that delta. You've got to get really good sleep. One really great tip about that is just stop drinking water 2 hours before you go to bed.
Right, you told me that.
You drink water, what do you think the body's going to do? Wake you right up. The bladder says, out.
But simple things, because we're doing very complex things. where we're talking about 7,000 different messages to different cells, and we're talking about separating red blood cells. But a couple simple things I want to break down. One thing you recommend me, I drink a lot of water all day long. I hydrate very early in the morning throughout the day. I have stopped doing water 2 hours before I go to bed. Again, guys, this is your own call. I got to tell you, I'm sleeping much deeper. I'm getting up much less frequently. Second thing is, no matter what today, out of the first part of this podcast, the show, you ought to go Google and look up magnetism.
Yeah.
You ought to just look it up, see the impact it has on your body, and you ought to look up pEMF technology too. I think that just would be an education for you to have in the back of your mind, a goal to work towards, something that you could acquire right now. I love the idea of, you know, even when we travel, getting out and putting our feet on the ground by the beach and resetting our clock. It's just, these are wonderful things. So step one so far is we're separating these red blood cells. We've kind of alkalized our system to some extent. That's Earth, and now we're receptive now to taking in more oxygen. Isn't this good? I'm actually getting a little bit of this now.
Awesome.
You're proud of me.